You know, in life and business, people will always have opinions. When you start something new, they will question you. When you fail, they will laugh at you. And when you succeed, they will envy you. That's just how the world works. But let me tell you something powerful. You don't have to answer everyone. You don't have to justify every decision, every mistake, or every dream. Sometimes the best answer is silence. You see, in this world, people will always have something to say. When you start your journey, they will question you. When you make mistakes, they will criticize you. And when you finally succeed, they will try to explain your success in their own way. This is how life works. Many people waste their time trying to explain themselves to others, trying to make everyone understand their choices, their dreams, their failures. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation. The energy you use to justify yourself could be used to improve yourself. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. When you stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter, you create space to listen, to learn, and to grow. Many people think silence means you are defeated or afraid, but real silence is control. It's understanding that not every opinion deserves a response. When you keep talking to prove your worth, you are giving power to people who haven't earned it. Growth doesn't come from approval, it comes from persistence. The moment you stop seeking validation, you start seeing progress. Success doesn't require a loud announcement, it requires quiet dedication. Every successful person knows this. The work is done in silence, and the results speak for themselves. When you constantly explain yourself, you are living for others, not for yourself. You are reacting, not creating. You are letting the world dictate your focus. The truth is, not everyone will understand your vision. Some people don't have the same mindset, the same hunger, or the same courage to dream big. They will criticize what they cannot do themselves. If you try to make everyone understand, you will lose your momentum. Growth requires focus, and focus requires silence. You don't need to convince anyone of your potential. You just need to show it through consistent action. When you're truly confident in your path, you don't need to talk about it all the time. You just walk it. Silence teaches you discipline. It teaches you patience. When you stop defending yourself, you start observing more. You learn to read people, to feel energy, to understand situations without reacting emotionally. You develop emotional intelligence, something that no argument can teach. Silent people are not weak. They are wise. They know that every word has energy, and they use theirs carefully. They know when to speak and when to stay quiet. They are not afraid of being misunderstood because they know that time reveals everything. Silence gives you control over yourself and over your direction. When you're silent, you start hearing what truly matters, your inner voice. The noise of the world fades away, and you can finally hear your own thoughts. That's when real growth begins. Most people never experience that because they are too busy explaining, defending, or proving. But growth requires stillness. It requires a clear mind and steady focus. When you stop explaining, you free yourself from the opinions that hold you back. You become lighter, faster, sharper. You start focusing on actions instead of words, and your results begin to speak for you. That's when people start noticing, not because you told them, but because you showed them. There will always be moments when people misunderstand you. They will doubt your choices, your timing, your direction. Let them. Silence doesn't mean agreement. It means confidence. It means you know where you're going even if others don't. The world respects results, not explanations. So when you stay silent and keep working, your achievements become your answers. The people who once doubted you will ask how you did it. And that's when you'll realize that silence was never about staying quiet. It was about staying powerful. Don't waste your energy justifying yourself. Use that same energy to build yourself. Every second spent defending your dream is a second stolen from achieving it. Let people think what they want. Let them talk. You stay focused. You keep learning, keep moving, keep growing. When you stop explaining, you start evolving. When you stop defending, you start winning. Growth is quiet, but its results are loud enough for the whole world to hear in life. You will face moments when people misunderstand your intentions, question your ability, and doubt your vision. That's natural. The bigger your dream, the more resistance you'll face. But the difference between those who grow and those who give up lies in how they respond to that resistance. Some argue, some justify, and some stay silent. The strongest people don't waste time defending their decisions because they understand that time spent on explanations is time taken away from progress. When you are busy proving yourself, you stop improving yourself. Silence becomes your most powerful strategy because it keeps your focus on what truly matters. Your growth, when you are quiet, you start to see things differently. You begin to listen more carefully, observe more deeply, and understand more clearly. The world is full of noise, opinions, judgments, advice, and criticism, and it's easy to get lost in it. But silence separates you from that noise. It allows you to think independently, to find your own rhythm, and to build without distraction. People who constantly talk about their plans rarely execute them. People who talk less and act more always rise higher. Silence doesn't mean you're ignoring the world. It means you're prioritizing your inner world over the outer chaos. Every time you explain yourself to someone, you give away a little of your confidence. You tell them that their approval matters more than your belief. But growth comes when you trust your own judgment, when you stop asking for permission to chase what you believe in. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Some people won't see your vision because they weren't given your eyes. And that's fine. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself strongly enough that silence becomes your statement. The more you grow, the less you need to say. Let your actions become your words, and your results become your voice. There's a kind of peace that comes with silence. It's not the silence of fear, but the silence of focus. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows where they're going, even if the road is long. You don't need to explain every step you take. You just need to keep walking. People may question your choices now, but they will understand your results later. When you use silence as your strength, you take control of your energy. You no longer react to negativity. You redirect it into productivity. Every doubt becomes motivation. Every criticism becomes clarity. That's how silent people win. They turn distractions into disciplined. Silence also sharpens your mind. When you stop talking, you start thinking. You begin to understand that growth is not about showing off progress, but about building it patiently. You realize that people respect consistency more than conversation. Many dreamers fail, not because they lack talent, but because they couldn't stay quiet long enough to focus. They wanted recognition before results. But real success takes time, patience, and quiet work behind the scenes. The tree doesn't explain how it grows. It just stands tall one day and the world notices. Be like that tree. Grow quietly. Let your success make the noise. When you are silent, you are not ignoring people. You are protecting your peace. You are choosing to invest your energy in becoming better, not bitter. You are learning to let go of unnecessary debates and emotional reactions. You realize that not every comment deserves your attention. The stronger you become, the less you explain. Silence becomes your filter, separating what's important from what's irrelevant. People will always have something to say, but their words can't hurt you if you've built strength inside. Inner strength doesn't need applause, it just needs direction. And silence gives you that direction. Every great journey begins in silence. The idea forms quietly in your mind before it becomes a reality. The work happens quietly behind closed doors before it reaches the stage. The growth happens quietly in your heart before it's visible to the world. That's why silence is not just a pause, it's a process. When you embrace silence, you learn patience. When you practice silence, you develop clarity. When you master silence, you grow unshakable. Don't explain your moves. Don't justify your dreams. Let your silence build your strength, and let your strength build your story. There comes a time in everyone's life when you realize that not every battle needs to be fought with words. You start to see that silence can be far more powerful than explanation. When you are always defending your actions, you give people permission to control your emotions. You let them decide how you feel, how you respond, and how you move forward. But when you remain silent, you take that power back. You no longer react to opinions or criticism. You simply keep building. Silence gives you focus, and focus gives you growth. When you learn to stop explaining and start acting, you begin to separate yourself from the crowd. Most people spend so much time trying to convince others that they forget to convince themselves. They explain their dreams, their failures, their goals, all in the hope of being understood. But not everyone is meant to understand you. Some people look at your path and see only confusion because they cannot see your vision. And that's fine. The ones who truly matter will see your effort in your results, not in your explanations. Silence allows you to protect your energy from being wasted on those who do not contribute to your progress. Every minute you spend explaining yourself is a minute you could have used to improve yourself. The truth is, silence is a mirror of confidence. When you are confident in your direction, you don't need to speak much. You let your progress speak for you. The more you grow, the less you argue. Growth gives you peace because you stop needing validation from anyone. The people who talk too much about what they will do are often still trying to convince themselves. But those who truly believe don't need to announce it. They act. They move quietly, consistently, and with purpose. And eventually their silence becomes louder than any words they could have spoken. Silence also teaches humility. It reminds you that every success takes time, and not every step needs to be seen. When you stop explaining, you start paying attention to what actually matters. Your work, your learning, your improvement. You begin to realize that the best answers are not spoken but shown. Every small action you take in silence becomes part of the bigger picture that will one day speak for itself. The loudest noise in the world is not made by people who talk, but by people who achieve. Those who stay silent during their struggle make the most noise. When they succeed, silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've learned what deserves your attention. It means you've decided that peace is more valuable than arguments. The world is full of noise. People judging, comparing, gossiping, and if you keep responding to all of it, you'll lose your focus. But when you stay silent, you start hearing what really matters. You hear your own thoughts, your own goals, your own inner voice guiding you forward. You begin to realize that silence is not empty. It's full of answers. It's in silence that you plan your next move, your next creation, your next step toward growth. There's a strength that grows in silence. A strength that doesn't need to be proven or explained. It's the strength that comes from knowing who you are and where you're going. People will always try to test that strength, to challenge your choices, to question your direction. But silence protects you. It keeps your focus steady. It stops you from being distracted by what others think and helps you concentrate on what you can control. Every great leader, every visionary, every dreamer who built something meaningful understood the value of silence. They didn't waste time convincing others. They spent time creating something worth believing in. When you're silent, you become more observant. You start seeing opportunities that noise would have hidden. You begin to notice patterns, understand people better, and read situations more clearly. Silence makes you strategic. It helps you think 2 steps ahead instead of reacting to what's right in front of you. When you stop explaining, you gain clarity. When you stop defending, you gain time. And when you stop talking, you gain strength. Growth is not about how loudly you speak. It's about how wisely you move. Let others talk, let them doubt, let them misunderstand. You keep walking your path in silence because silence is not weakness. It's the language of growth. In a world that constantly demands explanations, being silent can feel uncomfortable. People expect you to justify your choices, explain your failures, and prove your worth at every step. But the moment you understand that your value does not depend on other people's opinions, everything changes. Silence becomes your protection, your strategy, your strength. You stop reacting to every voice around you, and you begin to focus on your own growth. Explaining yourself over and over doesn't bring clarity, it brings exhaustion. Real clarity comes from action, not conversation. You don't need to tell everyone what you are doing. You just need to do it when you live loudly. The world can see your moves and criticize them. But when you move in silence, the world sees only your results. Silence is not hiding, it's building. It's the space where ideas grow, skills develop, and confidence strengthens. When you are quiet, you are not doing nothing. You are observing, learning, and preparing. People often mistake silence for inaction, but it is in silence that the most powerful growth happens. A seed grows underground before it breaks the surface, and in the same way, your success grows quietly before the world can see it. Every silent step you take adds strength to your foundation. Most people waste precious energy trying to convince others of their intentions. They explain why they failed, why they chose a different path, why they dreamed differently. But the truth is, explanations don't change opinions. People believe what they want to believe. If they have already decided to misunderstand you, no amount of talking will make them see the truth. That's why silence is freedom. It releases you from the need to be understood. You begin to realize that your focus should be on progress, not on perception. You are not here to be approved by everyone. You are here to grow into the best version of yourself. Silence gives you control. It allows you to respond with intelligence instead of emotion. When you don't react to every challenge or insult, you gain power over your own peace. You stop being easily provoked, easily distracted, or easily discouraged. You begin to operate from calmness, not chaos. Silence becomes your strategy for strength. While others waste time arguing and explaining, you spend that same time improving. You let your silence work for you because it keeps your focus sharp. Every moment you stay silent instead of defending yourself is a moment you invest in your growth. Eventually, your results become your loudest response. Growth loves silence. It cannot flourish in noise. The more you talk, the less you listen, and the less you listen, the slower you grow. Silence gives you space to think, to analyze, to refine your path. It allows you to see mistakes clearly and correct them without shame. It lets you learn from others quietly without drawing attention to yourself. The people who grow the fastest are not always the ones talking the most. They are the ones observing the most. Silence teaches you humility and patience, two qualities that every great journey requires. You learn that not every moment needs to be announced, not every success needs to be shown, and not every opinion deserves your answer. The beauty of silence is that it makes your achievements undeniable. When you stop talking and start doing, you become unpredictable. People can't interfere with what they can't see. You start moving differently, less noise, more intention. You begin to understand that proving people wrong isn't the goal. Proving yourself right is. Silence gives you that power. It keeps your energy contained, focused, and strong. You stop explaining your dreams because your dreams are already being built through your actions. You stop justifying your past because your growth is rewriting it with every step you take. Silence turns your focus inward, where real transformation begins. And as you keep walking silently, something powerful happens. Your results start speaking for you. The same people who doubted you begin to ask how you did it. The same ones who ignored you begin to notice your progress. But by then, you're no longer interested in proving anything. You've learned that silence is not about being unseen, it's about being unstoppable. You've learned that growth doesn't need applause, it just needs consistency. And while the world talks, you keep moving quietly, building something stronger than words could ever describe. There are moments in life when your silence will speak more than any words ever could. You will realize that explaining yourself to people who don't understand your path is like trying to describe the sky to someone who never looks up. They don't see what you see, and they're not meant to. When you stop explaining, you stop giving away your power. You stop wasting your energy on convincing people and start using that same energy to create, to grow, and to move forward. Silence is not about avoiding confrontation. It's about choosing peace over chaos. It's about knowing that your worth is not measured by how well you can justify your actions, but by how well you can stay focused on your purpose. Growth doesn't happen in noise. It happens in silence, in the unseen hours, when no one is watching and no one is praising. The loud ones may look confident, but often they're still searching for validation. The silent ones, however, are too busy building. When you learn to move quietly, you begin to value progress over praise. You start understanding that true power doesn't need to announce itself. It's recognized naturally. Every great achievement begins with silent preparation. The work you do behind closed doors, the sacrifices you make when no one believes in you, the discipline you maintain when no one is cheering, that's where real strength is formed. You don't need to tell the world what you're doing. The results will do that for you. Many people fail not because they lack potential, but because they crave approval too early. They want to be understood before they've even started building. They waste time explaining their vision to people who can't see it. But vision doesn't need to be explained. It needs to be executed. Silence allows execution to happen. When you stay quiet about your plans, you protect them from doubt, jealousy, and unnecessary opinions. The more you explain, the more you open the door for distraction. But when you move in silence, you stay in control of your own direction. Silence gives your dreams the space they need to grow without interference. Silence is also a test of patience. It teaches you to trust timing instead of forcing validation. The world moves fast, but growth takes time. When you're silent, you're learning to listen to yourself, to the process, to the lessons hidden in every challenge. You become more aware, more strategic, more grounded. You stop reacting to negativity and start responding with intelligence. People will talk about you, they'll make assumptions, they'll create stories. Let them. Silence protects you from the noise of misunderstanding. When you know who you are and where you're going, you don't need to explain every step you take. You just keep moving. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your purpose. You stop chasing applause and start chasing progress. You stop worrying about what others think and start focusing on what you can control. Silence gives you that control. It reminds you that growth is personal. It's not about being seen. It's about becoming stronger. When you embrace silence, you develop emotional maturity. You learn that not every comment deserves your attention and not every question needs your answer. The louder the world becomes, the more powerful your silence grows. It separates you from the noise, centers your focus, and keeps your energy intact. Every successful person has walked through seasons of silence, times when no one understood them, supported them, or noticed their effort. But they kept going. They didn't stop to explain or defend themselves. They trusted their process. Silence becomes your shield in those moments. It guards your vision and protects your spirit. The less you speak, the more you seek. The more you observe, the wiser you become. When you stop explaining, you begin to understand that silence is not empty. It's full of intention. Every quiet move you make is a statement of confidence, a declaration that you don't need validation to know your value. As you continue growing, you'll see that silence is not about staying hidden. It's about staying disciplined. It's about knowing when to speak and when to let your actions speak for you. The most powerful people don't argue to prove their point. They act to prove their belief. The more you master silence, the more focused you become. You start to move differently, with purpose, with awareness, with control. You no longer feel the need to justify yourself because you've realized that explanations don't build success. Persistence does. So you keep working quietly, you keep growing steadily, and your silence becomes the sound of your strength. The greatest strength often comes from the moments when you choose silence over explanation. You begin to understand that not every situation deserves your reaction, and not every opinion needs your defense. When you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim your peace. You no longer allow people's misunderstanding to distract you from your purpose. Silence becomes a filter that separates what truly matters from what doesn't. In a noisy world full of opinions, silence becomes your shield. It protects your focus, your confidence, and your energy. When you stay quiet, you start to hear things that others miss. You begin to see with clarity, think with patience, and act with purpose. People often mistake silence for weakness, but silence is discipline. It takes strength to stay calm when others expect you to respond. It takes confidence to stand firm when you are being questioned or criticized. Silence is not about ignoring the world. It's about understanding the right time to speak and the right time to act. When you are constantly trying to explain yourself, you end up giving others control over your emotions. But when you remain silent, you take that control back. You are no longer led by the noise outside. You are guided by the voice inside. Silence teaches you to respond with intention, not impulse. It's the difference between being reactive and being wise. When you start growing, not everyone will support you. Some will misunderstand your decisions, some will question your motives, and some will try to pull you back to where you used to be. That's when silence becomes your greatest strategy. You don't need to explain why you changed or why you're moving differently. The people meant to understand will see it through your growth, not through your words. Silence helps you move quietly, without distraction or pressure. It keeps your energy focused on progress rather than approval. The less you explain, the stronger your direction becomes. Because explanation invites interference, but silence invites focus. In silence, you find the power to observe. You start noticing details that noise would hide. You see people's true intentions, you recognize patterns, and you understand situations without rushing to respond. Silence trains your mind to think before it acts. It teaches you emotional control, something that explanation can never give. When you are quiet, you learn more about others and even more about yourself. You discover what really drives you, what really matters, and what truly deserves your attention. Most people fear silence because they fear being misunderstood, but silence is not about being misunderstood. It's about being unshaken. It's choosing to stay focused while the world tries to distract you with noise. Growth requires privacy. Not every step of your journey needs to be broadcasted or justified. The best work is often done quietly, without the world's approval or applause. You don't need to announce every move or explain every setback. You just keep building. Silence keeps your momentum intact because it prevents unnecessary interference. People can't attack what they don't know, and they can't stop what they can't see. The more quietly you work, the stronger your results become. Success has its own volume, and it's always louder than words. You don't have to talk about what you're doing when what you're doing will eventually speak for itself. Silence also builds character. It's easy to talk about strength, but it takes real strength to stay calm when the world challenges you. When you stop explaining, you start trusting yourself. You start believing in your ability to prove things through action instead of argument. Silence turns doubt into motivation and criticism into fuel. You realize that silence doesn't mean weakness. It means focus. It means you are not wasting energy on convincing anyone. You are too busy creating results that will speak for you. Silence becomes your confidence in motion, your power in practice, your growth in progress. The most powerful people are not the loudest ones. They are the ones who let their actions define them. They understand that every minute spent explaining could be used for improvement. They don't rush to defend themselves because they know that time will reveal everything. Silence becomes their secret advantage. It gives them space to think, to plan, to evolve. When you master the art of silence, you stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. You no longer need to prove yourself through words because your actions are already doing it. The world eventually listens to those who stay silent long enough to build something worth hearing.